It's June, and that means it's Pride Month in the US, so let's talk about it. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is all about Pride books, which means LGBTQ+ representation books that I want to share with you today. First of all, let me apologize. The traffic sounds from outside my window are insanely loud today. I have no idea what's going on. I literally film at like the same time every week, so I don't know. Everyone has places to be today. I don't know. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. And today is going to be all about my favorite LGBTQ+ books. So I've done a lot of like Pride books and like wrap-ups. I did my Sapphic Summer post not too long ago. So when I was making this list today, I was like, okay, Alex, focus. Try not to be super repetitive. Try not to put books on this list that you've already talked about a million times. So I tried very hard to put books on this list that I haven't talked a lot about on my channel, or that I've not mentioned in like Pride or Rainbow specific posts. Now, there are a few books that I've talked about a lot on my channel that went on the list because I simply love them to death and I'll never stop recommending them. So yeah, there are going to be a few repeats. I also want to state part of my goals for 2023 was to read more rainbow books because in 21 and 22 I didn't read that many, and so I'm still fairly new to this genre, so I don't have a ton of books for you today. I have 10, which like that's kind of a lot for me. But I also don't have like a super diverse portfolio yet. So a lot of the books I'm going to talk about today have sapphic representation or women love women, and I have a few gay or men love men books, and then I have one that's a mix, and I have one trans rep book. So like I said, I'm working on my diversification, and yeah, I'm just gonna present to you what I have today, and just know from the bottom of my heart, I love everybody the way that they love themselves, and happy Pride to everyone that's celebrating. And yeah, this is gonna be a fun post. I'm really excited. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna start with my Men Love Men books or gay representation. And the first one on this list is Iced Out by C.E. Ricci or Ricky. I still didn't figure it out. I just read this book last month for my book club. This is very erotic, and it's a enemies to lovers ice hockey romance book. It's very steamy. It's very cute. I mean, when I say I want enemies to lovers, this is it, okay? Because they start out just hating each other, and it's just the contrast between these two characters on the page was just great. So we have Quinn and Oakley, and they're on a hockey team together, and they've been lifelong enemies for like a really long time. This is their senior year of college, and they really want their team to win the championship. Well, one night they get kind of in an argument, and then they end up hooking up, and then after that they start winning games, which was, you know, their season previously was kind of in a slump. So they decide that this might be like a superstition type thing, and they want to see how far they can push that superstition. It's hot, it delivers. There's some really great little tropes in here that really work. But yes, it's very spicy, very erotic, very detailed. But still, I really liked this one. The next book on my list is Jonny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead. I've talked about this book on my channel before. Okay, this is one of those ones that I couldn't not put on the list because I think it's just so beautifully done. Jonny is indigenous to spirit, and he moves off reservation when he's quite young and decides to try and find himself in the big city. This is a really short book. It's a snapshot in time of Jonny deciding to go back to the reservation for a funeral, and how he's kind of scraping up the money and the courage to go back home. This is a highly sexualized book because Jonny is classified as a sex worker. I think the two-spirit rep here is amazing. I think the indigenous rep is amazing. Lots of trauma in this book, lots of pain, heartache, and then also just this super beautiful story of someone trying to find their place in the world, find their starshine in a speck of the universe. I just love what Joshua Whitehead did. I think Joshua Whitehead is also two-spirit, and this is one of the only books that they've done standalone. They typically do anthologies and short works with other authors and things like that, so when I found out that they did this standalone book, I had to get my hands on it, and I absolutely love it. Representation across the board was really well done, and yeah, I can't not recommend this book to people because it touched a place in my soul, and I loved it. The next book on my list is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. Okay, y'all have heard me talk about Beartown on this channel a lot because I absolutely love Beartown, and Beartown absolutely broke my heart. Like, Fredrik Backman has broken my heart so many times with this series, and I haven't even finished it. I have not even read the winners yet because I know I have to be in a completely different state of mind to read it. So, I've talked about this book a lot on my channel in different ways, but something that people don't talk about enough is the representation in this book is actually pretty good. We get more into the representation, I think, in Us Against You does the representation better. Because Beartown is kind of like the initial hit of the storyline, and I think Us Against You has a better rep line in it. But Beartown is essentially about a very small town that revolves around a hockey team. And basically, if you don't play hockey, you're probably never going to get out of this town. And if you do play hockey, you have to be the best hockey player to get out. Otherwise, you kind of get stuck in this town. And the only other thing in this town is kind of like these blue-collar factory jobs, which is fine. But if there's nothing else to do there. That's it. It's hockey and factory work. And if you don't want to do either of those things, then it's kind of a hard town to get out of. So Beartown, the book, settles around this town, and then something happens at the beginning of the hockey season that has the potential to destroy this town. It's a very traumatizing book. It's very heavy, lots of hard topics. Definitely read the trigger warnings on this book. That being said, Fredrik Backman is an amazing author. You do have to slog a little bit because he's a details guy, and it pays off. This book broke my heart. Us Against You broke my heart. I'm gearing myself up for the winners. It's going to happen this year. I want to do it. But yes, I think the rep in Us Against You is the best I've read, but there is some of it in Beartown. It's very gentle, but because of the way that this book is set up, and like where geographically it is, and just sort of the vibe of this town, being gay is not widely acceptable. And so when this character decides to come out, he actually didn't decide. They decided for him. And it's a very emotional journey. Very good book. I'll always recommend the Beartown series, even though it's heartbreaking. But yeah, I think that there's some really nice, gentle, and important rep in this series. Okay, let's move on to my sapphic rep. This is definitely the bigger section of my list, but let's get into it. We're going to start with Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I never talk about this book on this channel, but I absolutely love this book. The representation here is very gentle, but I loved it. I just loved it. This book was just everything. And I read this book quite a long time ago, and I still think about it. I still love it. I really want to go back and read it again. Basically, it's Scooby-Doo grown up, okay? I mean, that's what it is. So the gang all grew up, and they have to return to their town to solve one final mystery. And as they've grown up, they've all developed their own sort of unique trauma to just life, and some of them have had very traumatizing experiences. Just some really cool themes here. There's a lot of really cool magic themes, mystery, paranormal, horror, gore. Like, this gets into it. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like Scooby-Doo but just like amp it up, really, really cool stuff happening in this book. And there is some gentle sapphic representation here, and just the way that Edgar Cantero writes, I don't know. I love the writing style in this book. The descriptors of this book really worked for me. It was just really well done. So yeah, gentle sapphic rep in this book, but I loved it. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Measure by Nikki Erlick. I read this recently, and I had a lot of really great things to say about it. So basically, everyone on the planet wakes up one morning and has a box on their doorstep, and on the box it says, "Inside lies the measure of your life." And inside the box is a string, and everyone's string is a specific length, and the string represents the length of your life. The internet breaks over this, and this book is just multiple storylines of people trying to navigate life after these strings get introduced. Like, did you look at your string? Did you look at your string? How short? How long? What are you going to do with your time? Would you look in your box if you had a choice? And we also get a lot of like societal issues that come with this, like what happens in politics, what happens, just between people, separating people into different classes, the amount of judgment that comes from having a short string or a long string. Are you better? Are you worse? The societal dynamics on this were just so brilliantly done, and she did not miss, and she didn't spare any details. Like, there was an opportunity for Nikki Erlick to play this book safe and not get into certain discussions, and she didn't pull back, and I respect the hell out of her for not holding back and for just going all in on this book. She has my respect for that. There's some really great sapphic rep in this book. One of the, or two of the characters, I think this spans like 6 characters. Like, I think it says 6 in the description. It's way more than that. Because we have each of these people, and then we have like their significant others and their families and things like that. So the cast list is very long in this book, but 2 of the main characters are a married lesbian couple, and then there are some good side character rep in this book too that is also mentioned throughout. So yeah, I really loved this book. And I think the representation was done really well. Also, there's a lot of great BIPOC and POC representation here as well. So yeah, this one was really diverse and really interesting, and I really liked it. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Girl in Red by Christina Henry. This was also another one that I read recently, and it is a play on Little Red Riding Hood, though I wouldn't say that it like follows that theme to complete fruition, I would say. So basically there's a pandemic happening, viral bacterial infection type pandemic. Our main character is bound and determined to get to her grandmother's house, which is kind of an isolated cabin in the woods. And this is her journey from leaving home, getting there, and then there's this really dark, almost like science fiction plot line under this book. Is this my favorite Christina Henry book? No. By far, no. This is not my favorite Christina Henry book. Did she have some really cool stuff happening in this book? Absolutely. I would definitely say this is very gentle representation because it's the apocalypse. She's not looking for the love of her life or anything like that. There's not a romance or anything, but we have a main character that identifies as lesbian. She also is an amputee, and there is some BIPOC POC representation here. So some interesting diversity, and an apocalyptic science fiction novel that also plays with a fairy tale theme. Lots of cool stuff. The next book I'm going to talk about is Skye Falling by me and McKenzie. If you've been here a minute, I talk about this book all the time. I talk about it all the time. It couldn't not go on this list though, okay? Because the representation in this book is astounding. The themes in this book are amazing. Me and McKenzie outdid herself with this book, and it's just a chock full book of amazing, beautiful things. So we have Skye, who's kind of had this nomadic life. She's in her 40s. She comes home to Philly, and she finds out that some of the eggs that she donated when she was in her 20s have, become a child. And this 12, 13-year-old child has sought her out and wants her to be in her life. Skye has a lot of trauma, mental health issues, attachment issues, commitment issues. There's a lot of really great themes. We have a lot of found family themes, mixed family themes. The representation in this book, I'm pretty sure Skye is bisexual, but there's also sapphic representation, trans representation, gay representation, like off the charts representation in this book. Then we have a myriad of mental health representation. We also get into police brutality, gentrification, anti-black racism. Like, there's so much to love about this book. I absolutely loved it. How can this not go on the list? Okay, it had to go on because it's brilliant. Okay, this is the last one in the sapphic section, okay? Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. Y'all know how I feel about Sarah Gailey, okay? And this book had to go on. This book is so interesting to me. Like, it has this really, like, dark academia type vibe, to me at least. Our main character is a non-magic person, and she gets hired as a private investigator to investigate a murder at a magical high school. And the reason she gets invited to do this, because this magical high school is like very private, very closed. They're not going to bring in police officers to solve this problem. The reason she gets hired on is because her sister is actually a professor at this magical high school. So she goes to this magical high school as a non-magical person to solve a murder. It was really cool. It was really cool. I love the way that Sarah Gailey writes, and this just blew me away. It really did. It had all the vibes. It would be another one that's very gentle representation because our main character is not gay, but the sister is. The magical professor sister is, and she's in a committed relationship with another woman. So very gentle rep here, but the vibes were just immaculate, and Sarah Gailey she always does a well done job. So yeah. So this next one's kind of like broad spectrum. The Wicked Villains series by Katee Robert. Okay, I've read 2 of these books. I read Desperate Measures and Learn My Lesson. These books, if you don't know, are based on Disney villains that get the girl. So, or get the princess or whatever, So the first book is Jasmine and Jafar. And the second book is Hades, Meg, and Hercules. So the reason this goes on the list for me is because it's very mixed. Like, women are hooking up with women, men are hooking up with men and women are hooking up with each other in different kinds of pairs and couples and groups and things like that. Very erotic stories, very hot. So yeah, if you want something that's erotic, where there's gonna be different combinations of people, I would highly recommend this. Katee Robert, just these 2 books, she's blown me away. Okay, so yeah, I don't think that anybody specifically identifies as anything. Everyone just kind of is open to everything. Also like that, the non-labeling thing, this series also works for that. So yeah. So, okay, this is the last book on the list today. It's Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. I absolutely love this book. This is probably the first trans book I've ever read, and I just think about it all the time because it's just such a beautiful story, and there's a lot of really difficult conversations and themes and stuff happening in this book, and I just love that there's books like this now for our young people to read. The people that are struggling with their identity, struggling with finding themselves, finding a place for themselves. I'm just so happy now that we have books that are out there and open and, you know, widely discussed for our young people and for adult people that are also struggling to find their place in the world. Felix is in high school, and this is set over summer, so it's summer break and sort of like a summer school art program kind of thing. So that's the setting, and we start summer school, and someone posts pictures of Felix before their transition, and they release their dead name to the people, like their peers at the school and everything. So Felix is officially like kind of outed. I think they're already, like, they've already identified as trans and they've already started transitioning and things like that. But this is kind of like a touchy subject for people that have transitioned or are transitioning or finding themselves. Like, it's a very private thing to have exposed. And so this is Felix dealing with this exposure that was not consensual, and then trying to find out how this happened, who did it, and coming to terms with the person and the feelings, and also a journey of Felix continuing to find themselves. And there's a lot of family themes here that we're getting into, conversations between Felix and their father that we're dealing with. It's a lot. And it's all just very beautifully done. Kacen Callender really blew it out of the park with this one. I just really loved the depth here. And it was so easy to read, and it was so easy to root for Felix and to just fall in love. I thought it was just so well done, and I absolutely loved it. So this book I've talked about before on my channel, but I will always talk about this book because I just think it was lovely. And it made me cry like the happiest tears, and I'm just so glad I read this book. And yes, I will continue to recommend it to everyone. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today, and I tried really, really hard not to ramble a lot so you guys wouldn't get bored. Let me know how that worked out. Like I said, I am still working on diversifying my rainbow books and making sure that I'm hitting a lot of the categories and things, so I'm getting a lot of exposure. So if you have any books, specifically rainbow books, that you absolutely love, that you think I would love, that you want to recommend to me to help me diversify my portfolio and my shelf and whatever, drop me a comment, let me know. I absolutely love reading rainbow books, and I need to read more this year. So yeah, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and I hope you guys are having a lovely Pride. I really do. I really hope everyone's having a great month. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!
Bye!